So let's take a look at a new and shiny Space Marine Gravis captain, finally reincarnated out of the Dark Imperium box. Hello and welcome back to Warspecs Tactics, where today we're taking a look at a nice new shiny miniature revealed by Warhammer community yesterday. As I'm sure won't be a massive surprise to quite a lot of you out there, it is yet another Space Marine character model, but it is a character model that they have been missing for quite a long time, and maybe it's one of their releases that has a little bit more point to it than some. Not only that, but not only are they just releasing a monopose Gravis captain, but this guy does appear to have some meaningful options on him, including an interesting Chainsword or an additional Power Fist. I do quite like the way that they're getting more towards making more customizable Space Marine characters again. A lot of the Primaris ones just feel a little bit bland. Very nice models, but a lot of the time it's quite nice to be able to have some selections into what you want to arm your character with. So this is the previous version of the Space Marine Gravis captain from Dark Imperium. Really quite an iconic character model. A lot of people got back into the game with Dark Imperium after a long hiatus. I think most people were expecting that Games Workshop would release an individual kit for him not so long after it came out, but strangely enough they'd held off for absolutely ages, even after Dark Imperium went away completely, and he couldn't actually buy the Gravis captain from anywhere, even though he happened to be in the Space Marine Codex still. I believe a bunch of the other characters from that Dark Imperium box set got reincarnated in a Space Marines Hero of the Chapter set. It allows you to get the sprue with 2 Primaris Lieutenants and the Ancient on, but still the Gravis captain was nowhere to be seen. I believe that the only one that you could buy at the moment was this Gravis captain, the Heavy Bolt Rifle one with the Mastercrafted Power Sword, the one that got released at the same time as the Heavy Intercessors, who to be fair isn't an enormous amount different from the standard one. I have been a bit perplexed as to why he's got his own datasheet compared with the standard Gravis captain. I don't see why they couldn't just have given the Gravis captain a war gear option to take the Heavy Bolt Rifle. I wouldn't be too surprised if they do a little bit of consolidating when the next Codex Space Marines comes out. In any case, this is the new guy, he's a new multi-part kit, and I think that most people seem to be broadly positive about the sculpt for the miniature. He's looking fairly dynamic, looking like he's going to fire that Boltstorm Gauntlet, unlike the slightly more static and heroic pose that the Dark Imperium model had. Perhaps slightly helpful is that he's not going to be quite as tall a model for transport as well, without holding that sword above his head. There's a few aesthetic changes compared with the original. He seems to have picked himself up a servo skull now. He's got the option of a helmeted and non-helmeted head, and he does appear to have acquired Games Workshop's favourite heroic tactical rock. Space Marine characters in particular feel the need to elevate themselves a little bit above their battle brothers by standing on some sort of rocky outcrop, it seems. Otherwise the model seems broadly similar in comparison, the over-the-shoulder cape maybe being a nice extra touch. I'd say perhaps the most interesting thing about the release is that he is going to get war gear options now. Previously with the Gravis captain, all you had was the Boltstorm Gauntlet in the one hand and the Mastercrafted Power Sword in the other hand. It was perhaps a very slightly unusual situation, with the Boltstorm Gauntlet and the Mastercrafted Power Sword being very similar against quite a lot of targets, and in fact in general it works out mathematically that you're usually better striking with the Boltstorm Gauntlet unless you're against some very specific foes. It was a bit more debatable when the Boltstorm Gauntlet was damage D3, but now it's damage 2, there's not so much separating them. The extra accuracy of the Power Sword is kind of outweighed by usually wounding on 2s with the Boltstorm Gauntlet. In any case, instead of the Mastercrafted Power Sword now, you can either pick up a Chainsword or a Power Fist. Both of those are really quite interesting. The Power Fist would of course be completely redundant unless he gets some sort of special rule on his datasheet, which I'm sure he will. I have a feeling that the option for the extra Power Fist is going to get him an extra attack in some form. It just remains to be seen how much that extra attack is going to cost. Perhaps for me though, the Chainsword does seem like the more interesting option. First of all, if you are likely to be striking with the Boltstorm Gauntlet quite a bit of the time, having that extra Chainsword attack for free is no bad thing. It will help out a little bit against hordes, and is often going to be better than having a Power Sword that you're usually not going to use. However though, it does mean that he is the second Primaris model around to actually be able to take the Teeth of Terra Chainsword. So far most of the Primaris character datasheets haven't allowed them to take a Chainsword in any form, and I think the only exception was one of the Black Templar characters. It means that you could give him the pretty potent combo of the Teeth of Terra in one hand and the Boltstorm Gauntlet in the other, and I'll just do a few numbers on that in just a second. The same is true of the Power Fist as well. There are some relic Power Fists about throughout the supplements in Codex Space Marines. Swapping out the Power Fist for something like the Imperial or Crimson Fist relic Power Fist seems like a great move, particularly if that version does get himself an extra attack, which I suspect that he will. It'll be interesting to see if any of these new builds unseat the Indomitus pattern captain as the go-to one. Generally, if you are taking a captain in foot, a lot of players like to run that guy with his relic Storm Shield. For the 105 point cost, he is really quite tanky with that shield reflecting mortal wounds, and has some nice generalist combat as well with a mastercrafted power sword. I don't think he's all that far ahead of his battle brothers, but he does seem like one of the most efficient options to me if you're not opting for something like a jump pack or a bike on a captain of the more firstborn variety. First up, seeing as he is a generic captain who can take the teeth of Terra now, it might be fun to look at some numbers to see whether or not it's actually worth it. Just comparing it to the standard Gravis captain, the one with the mastercrafted power sword, he gets either 6 attacks with the power fist or the power sword, though against these 3 examples, the guardsmen, the marines and the vehicle, you may as well attack everything with the fist. He is equal with the power sword against the guardsmen or the marines, but he isn't better. As I mentioned, this means that usually getting that extra free chainsword attack is going to be very slightly superior to that, probably not all that meaningful versus marines or vehicles, but could happily chew through an extra guardsman or something. Similar to the power fist if they do get an extra strike, though I suspect that might well come with a points cost attached. If we upgrade him to take the Teeth of Terror though, then he is going to get those 6 attacks, strength 8, AP -3 and damage 2, and then get an extra bonus 3 attacks at strength 5, AP -2 and damage 2 with no penalty. On average that kills around 5 guardsmen, 4 marines, or around 5 or 6 wounds to a toughness 7 vehicle. And that's honestly really not too bad a threat for a fairly cheap captain with 1 relic. It could well have even more relevance for certain armies though, such as Blood Angels, where it might make more sense to make more of the attacks with the Teeth of Terror against hordes and things, because they'll be wounding on 2s anyway. Overall, as a relic upgrade, I'd say it's probably worth it. It certainly adds a fair bit more damage output to light and medium infantry, though isn't all that meaningful against vehicles, I think. Still though, small amounts can add up to a fair bit in close combat from time to time, particularly if every single model that you kill isn't going to be one that's striking you back. It does seem that little combo could be one of the mightiest captains that you can build for the points cost, fairly comfortable at tangling both with light infantry and with heavy hitters. I guess the main thing that he's not going to like all that much is tangling with anything with -1 damage. So let me know what you think of the model and the potential for comboing with some fun relics. Do you think that you'd be more tempted to run this guy than the Indomitor's pattern captain? Or is the 2+ save and the 4+ against mortal wounds still better in your eyes? If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where we'll try and keep the regular 40k videos coming, with new ones out just about every day. Finally, if you'd like to help support the channel, I would just like to mention that I do have an Element Games affiliate link down in the video description, which is one way that you can help keep Auspex Tactics going while you are picking up models. For those who aren't aware, Element Games is a UK-based discount retailer. They give 10 to 20% off Games Workshop's miniatures, and if you do order anything through them, a small amount goes to help support Auspex Tactics while not costing you any more when you buy. Can just be a way to help out if you're in the UK and you were thinking about picking up something anyway. For those of you over in the USA, I do also have an Amazon link down there as well. Basically click the link, buy anything off Amazon whatsoever, and a small amount goes to help support Auspex Tactics without costing you any more when you buy. A big thank you to you guys who have been using those, it really does help out. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.